Okay, this is a long time coming. I need to stop talking about how I'm coming out with stuff because it usually takes me eight months longer than I anticipate because I just can't let go of the detail. This is part of my blessing and my curse. So here's the Prevost Catalog. This is the 2018 catalog. I don't think they have the 2019 yet. But if you just look at Skus, this is the index of the Skus. There's page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 pages with how many things are on there? 300. So there's thousands of different products that they have, which is fantastic. But what do we do with that? Like, what do I do with that? And so you have all this different stuff. Some of it we need, some of it we don't, and so I feel like my superpower is that I just can't let it go, and so I dig and dig and dig and dig, and then create my own system for myself, and then I have to figure out how to provide solutions to people like yourself that are watching this video. So how do we take this catalog and turn it into what I have here, the shelves of my Sonic cabinets? How do we take these thousands of Skus and turn it into a system that is still going to be difficult for some people? It's still going to require some work. You may have to contact us to help you design a system, but I'm going to get you, in this case, I'm going to get you 50% of the way there. And many of you I know are really sharp. Will get yourself the other 50% of the way. Some of you will get yourself 10% more, and we'll help you with the rest of the way there. But anyway, the key here is that I've taken this catalog and created a system that we can use in our garages, in our warehouses, in our pressure washing system, and so I've had to make some tough choices to make this a little bit simpler. So let's get started with piping, and then we'll work on couplers, and then we'll work on hoses, and then we'll work on blowguns and things like that. So strap in, this video is probably gonna be pretty long. All right, so let's talk pipe first. The pipe is probably the most important part. Then we'll kind of go backwards a little bit. So I wanna try to work from the air compressor out. I forgot to mention, these are for air compressors. I think you get the point. So piping is tricky. They have 16 millimeter, 20 millimeter, 26 millimeter, 32, they have like 9 different sizes of pipe. So you have to pick one. I picked 1 inch. We probably don't need 1 inch. So this is a 26 millimeter, which works out to be, or is it 25 millimeter? It works out to be roughly 1 inch. So it's 1 inch in diameter. So I chose 1 inch because it looks good. It's priced less than when you get into the higher, the bigger size pipe. And so we probably only really need 1/2 inch in the garage, but I think the 1 inch looks better. And so I made the choice to do everything 1 inch. I can get you whatever you want, but for the systems that I'm designing, if you called me and said, hey, what should I get? We're gonna stock and deliver on 1 inch stuff unless you wanna do something totally custom. Of course, we can get anything from the catalog. I know Prevost is hard to source, so I wanna be a source for all of it, but I also wanna, again, make this a little bit easier to work with. So I offer pipes in 2 different sizes. We stock it in 6 feet 6 inches. I'm 6'2", so 6 feet 6. The reason why I'm doing that is the pipe comes in 19 feet 7 inches. Problem with 19 feet 7 inches is you can't ship that any kind of regular carrier, so it has to be shipped freight. So we're looking at a minimum of like $280 to ship one $45 19-foot pipe. And so the more economical way to do that for yourself would be to use unions. So the piping in general, if you're going to do a big garage or a big warehouse like my warehouse here, I paid the freight. So I didn't get a discount. I had to pay the freight in order to get longer 19-foot runs, so I didn't have to use as many unions. So if you're doing a big 1,200, 1,800, 3,000 square foot garage, warehouse, auto body shop, something like that, and you don't want to have a bunch of unions, then I would suggest we just pay the freight. So we'll do that custom. But in the store today, you can go in, you can order a 6 inch pipe, which we can ship semi-economically via UPS. Just buy a bunch of them, and then what you would use is you would use unions like this, in order to extend the pipe if you had like a 20-foot section in your garage or something that you needed to run. Still looks super clean, looks fine. So this makes it, cost $30 to ship instead of $350 to ship if you're in California. All this stuff comes from North Carolina, the North Carolina facility, via France. So piping is 1 inch. I also sell 3-foot 3-inch sections, so I have to order these by the pallet. So I can't just order whatever random size you want. So 3-foot 3-inch, I sell it in this size largely for the pressure washing system, but these we also stock in quantity as well. So we have these here, very shippable, very usable. And then they also offer, this is a bent pipe, which I believe is about 2 feet. So the bent pipe, if you think about this logically, if you had an area like on my pressure washing setup where you have something come out of the wall and you needed to position it, the bent pipe allows you to position the pipe or position your wall manifold or position something, and all you do is just turn the pipe and you gain distance from the wall. So you'd have to calculate and measure for that. But this bent pipe is a standard length. It comes one length, and then we just buy the 25 millimeter size. So bent pipe, I think this is like 16 or 18 bucks, something like that. So piping, you can do the math, take 19-foot 7 inches. It's like 47 bucks for a 19-foot 7-inch section. So whatever that works out per foot. It's actually pretty economical for some really clean looking aluminum pipe. I mean, you can see inside of there, it's really clean. This has been cut. We haven't deburred this. But really, really high quality equipment. Has the Prevost logo on it. You could choose to turn it so that it's just regular blue. I like to see the logo. Just depends on what you like to do. It kind of goes against what I normally do, being as I pull my M badges off my BMWs and Porsche stickers off. But anyway, I don't know. I like seeing the Prevost. So that's the piping. They call this PPS, whatever that performance. Yeah, Prevost piping system. Good thing we have Bryce here. Okay, so let's start from the air compressor out. All right, so we're thinking about this flow-wise. I always think about this when, like I'm doing anything home theater. I always think about how, you start with the receiver, and then you go out to the different sources, and how are you going to connect all of that. So I always follow a flow or a path of the in this case, the air. And so we come out of the tank of a compressor, and pretty much any compressor is going to have a 1/2-inch connection. And I don't have these baller lines, but you need something that's really flexible coming off the tank. You don't want to go straight pipe. You'll eventually vibrate that loose. So we want a flex line of some sort. I'll show you here in a minute, but on my compressor I use the AN fittings. They're just not as clean, not as nice. And so what I suggest, and what I'll eventually swap mine out for, is these T316 stainless extra flexible lines. We don't need T316 because we're not doing anything corrosive, but the T316 line is just really, really nice. They don't make this in T304 as flexible. Keep in mind, these are $100 plus, depending on how long you need the length. And I sell them in pretty much any length you need. So we come out of the tank and we go into generally a filter regulator. Or in my case, I have a dryer, so you would just have an extra line. So in a normal environment where you're just going out of the tank, you go out of the tank, and I like to go direct into the filter regulator right off the tank, because I'm gonna run the same pressure throughout my entire system. If it was a really big system, then you could have multiple filter regulators. So this is the Prevost Alto 3, which is completely unnecessary, something we certainly don't need. Because this is a 1/2-inch. I think this thing will flow like 180 CFM. So even though we have 1-inch lines, having 1/2-inch coming off the tank is fine. I haven't noticed any parasitic loss, and they don't make these things any bigger. So this particular unit, and I'll show you mine on the wall, this Alto 3, you can buy it without a gauge, which is maybe 20 bucks cheaper, or with a gauge, which I would suggest. So this is the gauged version. I think it's $99 roughly. So really quality piece of equipment for, you would think it would cost more, but it's right around 100 bucks. So the gauge can go either way. So you can take this particular gauge. You could flip it either way depending on depending on how you needed the flow to go, but you could mount this however you'd like. And so these have, I'm not sure why they have this. I guess probably so that you could thread this onto your flex line and then mount it. But technically, you would mount these I guess these T half-inch connections onto the side. I just think it looks better, so that's why I do it. And then this has a filter inside of it. It's not a desiccant filter, but this is just a regular basic filter that would filter out any like dust and things like that. It's a polycarbonate filter that you would replace occasionally. So I don't think this does anything for water. So water we'll have to deal with in some other fashion, generally just by draining the tank. It does have a drain on the bottom, so you can drain out water if you needed to. I haven't had any water in this particular device yet. So let's go take a look at how it's set up on my compressor. So here's my compressor. This is a Jenny. This is a Jenny W5B80V as in Victor, an 80-gallon tank. I actually just broke the tank drain, so I'm gonna have a video coming up on how I fix that and what I do with that. We hit it with a ladder. So the output of a compressor can usually be on either side. So you can have them set up the output however you want. They just turn the tank around. So when you order your compressor, you can have it on the left or right. So I should have had it on the right, but I didn't know which side I was going to have it on, so I have it on the left. Most compressors are going to have a half-inch female connection. And then I have an AN fitting here, which isn't very pliable. It tends to kink because it has plastic nylon tubing inside. That's where our flex line, now any system I design, I do flex lines on. I just haven't gotten around to swapping mine out. So we come out, and in my case, I'm going to my Air Rev dryer. So this cools the air to 32 degrees, which would allow any water to drop out of the system. You also would have a tank drain on the bottom of the tanks. We don't have a lot of humidity in here because this is a humidity controlled environment, but I don't have a water issue. If you did have a water issue, you could do something like a loop with your piping, but in most cases you really don't need that. Having draining the water out of the tank periodically or adding a dryer is something that I very rarely use the dryer unless I'm polishing. But in my case, I'm going into the dryer, out of the dryer, into my filter regulator. Now, for most the systems I design, we come out, flex line, and we go flex line into our filter regulator. So you can see, depending on your configuration, you may want to flip it around, and so you can put the gauge on either side. And so here's our connection point. So I have my AN line or flex line coming in, so I don't have any vibration from my compressor vibrating my filter regulator. And I simply take my knob, I pull it upward, and I can adjust. So let's do that. So let's let air through the system. Mine should be at around 90 PSI. There you go. So I can adjust my pressure in the system by simply pulling up on the knob, turning it. It lets air out of the system in order to get to that target pressure. So again, this is a 180 PSI two-stage tank. I would obviously damage my tools if I ran it that high. And so let's bring it back up to 90. I want to overshoot it. There's 90 PSI. And you actually probably run it around 92 or 93, because by the time it gets over to my tool, I'll probably have some parasitic loss. So you saw how precise that is, very efficient. Super high quality piece of equipment. I just took a block and we mounted it to the wall because this is a metal stud drywall. And then we come out, and this will be the start of our conversation on our actual pipe fittings. So I'm coming out with a 1/2-inch male to pipe female type connection. So let's go back over to the bench and start talking about these fittings. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is talk about all the fittings, and then I'll show you how the fittings work, how we connect them. So we have, going back to that product I just showed you. So that is a 1/2-inch male NPT, so these are NPT threaded, 1/2 inch male to female pipe. So this device or this piece of equipment clamps down on the pipe. Again, I'll show you that in a second. But this is why I needed to choose a pipe size, because they have different, for every size pipe, they have a different size fitting. In order to make this practical and stock this properly, I had to, have to choose a size. So I stock this in 3/4. And the main reason 3/4, I use it on my pressure washing system. So 3/4 male, 1/2 inch female. I'm sorry, 1/2 inch male. I also have 3/4 female, 1/2 inch female. I have a pipe cap. So this is if you did a run, like a run that wasn't looped. It's always better to have a loop, and we'll show you that at the end of the video here, because you get better pressure balance. But since some systems we design don't have a loop, we need to cap it off. This is how you would terminate a pipe that was just a straight run. Usually what we would do, instead of capping it, that's where you'd have your hose reel or something, so we wouldn't need to cap. We would come off with something like our female or male connection, or even a 90. But we do have a pipe cap in case you need it. These aren't very popular. I don't use those in most systems. I have a 45, which again also isn't very popular, but I do stock them just in case. And then we have 90s with, so for instance on my pressure washing system, it comes with one of these, where we thread into a 1/2 inch female on the wall with like a shark bite type fitting. So 1/2 inch and 3/4. And then we have a traditional 90. These would probably, this and the regular Union will probably be the most popular pieces that you'll buy in most systems. I have probably 8 or 9 90s in my system here. I don't have any Unions because we did the longer pipe. But in general, these are the two most popular, that and a T. So T's you'll use quite often as well. And I sell T's in 3 different versions. So the regular pipe-to-pipe T, this would be 1/2 inch if you were going to do something like a 1/2 inch valve for a hose reel or something like that. So there's a 1/2 inch female. And then I also have a 3/4 inch female just in case you needed something big and really stout. These probably won't be very popular. So those are all our fittings. Let me show you how these things work, because this is something that's important. So let's go over to our bench over here. We'll use the bent pipe and show you how these connect. All right, so first thing Bryce reminded me to mention, these fittings are aluminum, so they're actually really light. They're extremely stout, but light. And so when you open this up, there are 3 pieces. Actually 4 pieces, I guess. So we have the ring. This is the stop ring, I guess you call it. I'm making up names for this stuff because they haven't done a very good job of educating anybody on this. So that's what I'm here for. So we have the stop ring, which I've never had any of these break, but I do stock these in case you broke one for some reason. And then you have your cup. What is this thing called? The nut. So here's the nut. And then we have several pieces. We have a rubber centering ring, and then this piece here, I forget what this thing's called, but this is the piece that clamps the pipe and pulls it in place. So what you do, in order to get this to work, the first thing I do is I take the centering little rubber piece and I put it on the pipe. Now this actually needs to be deburred. Let's deburr it first. So in order for this to work, it really has to be deburred inside and out. We'll talk about the tools here in a minute. And we have a little deburring tool here just to clean up clean it up so you don't have any issues. Nice and clean. So then we take our centering ring, I put it on the tip of the pipe after I've deburred it. Actually I take that back. First we put the nut on, then we put this on. See, this is good. This is good for you. So I do it wrong, so you can do it right. And then what you'll notice, it'll bottom out. So you push till it reaches the bottom, and then I take my nut and I torque it on. If it doesn't slide on smoothly, then you didn't put it, then you got something that isn't quite right. And so then as you torque this down, so actually something doesn't feel quite right here. Yeah, so I haven't reached the bottom, so something isn't sitting right. So this is one key distinction. You need to make sure that this bottoms out. There we go. And you'll know if this piece here doesn't sit nice and flush, then you'll know because the nut won't turn nicely like that. And so then as I torque this down, and I take my 25 millimeter wrench, and I take this and actually tighten it. Now, you'd have to have it on the wall in order to tighten it properly. Then this sucker isn't going anywhere. You won't have any leaks or any issues. So I typically recommend, you probably want to buy, like if you're doing a big system, I'd probably buy half a dozen nuts and a half a dozen of these. These actually, I've never had an issue with these failing, but maybe buy one or two extra of these in case you lose one. These are called a seal. I'm calling it a centering seal. So seal 25, and then I need to order these. I don't have these here, but I need to order this piece as well in case you break one of those. I haven't broken any of those yet. So that's the process on how you put the pipe together. And you'll notice here when I take this off, so you can see where the teeth grab onto the pipe and hold it in place. So the teeth on this particular thing here on the inside, as you torque it down, it tightens and grabs onto the pipe, so it won't ever come out. Really a genius design and really high quality products. I mean, that's just this. If you could put your hands on one of these, in person, it's just an amazing piece of engineering. Just really, really high quality equipment out of France. So let's keep moving through the process here. But that's how you put a pipe together with a pipe wrench. So these are a must, at least one of them, if not two of them. So let's talk about tools for the system. First option is, and I don't stock this, but because I think it's like $500. But this is the baller kit. This is the Prevost baller solution. I think you would only buy this if you were doing installs yourself. It comes with all the tools that you need to do this as efficiently as possible. I don't use the tappers, so what you can do is you can come and you can tap a line, so you can put a hole in the line, there's one of the fittings. So they sell a fitting like this that if you needed to come off of the line, that you could tap or drill a hole in it. I don't ever do that because I just put a T in. It's just easier to just put a T in and cleaner, so I don't have to do that. But if you needed that in your system, I think it's called a tapping flange. You would also need the bit, and so this kit comes with a bit. So I don't anticipate many people are going to buy this, so I don't stock it. We would just special order it. They usually stock one or two of these at Prevost HQ, but the baller kit is not necessary. But so here's all the parts that you can buy, and these aren't Prevost specific, so they're sourcing these from different places. I think these might be made by Prevost, but these two parts are not. And then of course we have the deburring tool as well. So these are all the tools that you might need. So you need some sort of pipe cutter. I sell these. I think these are like $180. Really nice, really high quality. If you're doing a system as big as mine, I would buy one of these instead of using a Home Depot one. I suspect many of you guys that if you were going to do your own system, you'd probably have one of these yourself. This actually has a deburrer on it as well, so it has one of these little tools on it if you needed it. So it actually has it built into the back of the device. But this pipe cutter works like so. So let's ruin a piece of pipe here for the good of the children. Push it down. We torque it, tighten it. Take a couple of twists, turn it, a couple of twists, turn it, couple of twists, turn it, don't drop it. Cut, nice, clean, simple. And then what you would do, if you had a deburring tool, I just don't want to use my new one. Again, you can get a deburring tool from Home Depot or wherever you want, or you can use the simple tool, the simple pen. This, I think, is another $100 and something, but you would want to deburr the inside and the outside, and so notice this has a little V. So I would do a couple of turns like that, a couple of turns like this, and you should be good to go. Now, that's where it's good to have one of these just to clean up the rest of it. So now we have a nice deburred version or tip or end of the pipe. So those are two tools that you need. These are two other tools that you might need. One, the pipe wrench or the pipe fitting wrench for your T's and 90s and unions where it fits. And this is a specific tool that you really need the Prevost one. I think these are only 16 or 18 bucks, so they're not really expensive. It's not a bad idea to have two of them, but that's one option. One thing you might need if you're doing a lot of valves, or if you really want to tighten these properly, instead of putting another wrench on or putting a set of channel locks. This it's called a CLE STD, CLE standard. I don't know why that's the model number, but so this locks on to T's and valves. See how it locks onto the lip there, so that you can lock and then really get a good solid torque without damaging your device. So you really want, I think you want these two. I think this one's $50-something. It also works really well on valves. So when you're doing any of the valves also have a lip where this grabs onto, locks onto. So like in the piping package for my pressure washing system, I provide one of these so that you can get these properly torqued. Now some of them like this, you could just put a wrench on there, but this is a simpler, cleaner way to grab, especially the valves that don't have this hex type nut on the end of it. So those are the tools that you might want for this system. Okay, so let's talk about valves. So valves you would use in many different places in this system. I'll show you some of those on mine when we do a walkthrough of my system. But we have 4 different types of valves. You have pipe to pipe, so 1-inch pipe to 1-inch pipe. And you'll notice, if you can see inside of there, it's a ball valve type. Really high quality. These are zinc plated, so they're not stainless. But they are about as high quality as you can get in a non-stainless version. So it's zinc plated. I think they might be, feels like brass. I think they're zinc plated brass, because it's not aluminum. It's certainly much heavier than the other parts and pieces. The nuts are aluminum. The internals look to be just zinc plated brass. But high quality nonetheless. These are made in Italy. A lot of this stuff is made in France and Italy. Then you have a 3/4 inch female, 3/4 inch male. They don't make these, I don't believe they make these in any bigger or smaller sizes. It's 3/4 only. And then we have a 1/2 inch female to female version of this. I use this one quite often, especially when we're doing hose reels. And then we can do bushings to adapt to whatever we need, male to male, or we can do something like this where we go female, convert to female 3/8 inch. I stock these reducers and bushings as well in those 2 sizes. So those are our valves, and again, I'll show you when we do a walkthrough how that goes in the system. So let's go talk about couplers. Okay, this is where it gets tricky. I'm going to show you this here. So I'm going to simplify this for you. So there are industrial type interchange. There is automotive profile, which is true flate. There is Euro high flow, We also have larger high flow interchange, 1/2 inch interchanges, which require a different type of fitting. We have ARO 210 standard, those are the yellow ones. We have, let's see, ISO 6150, which is, I believe, the Japanese style. And I think there are a few more. No, those are ISO 6150. And then we have old and new type fittings. So there are 6 or 7 different standards. And I think what happens here, at least it's been explained to me this way, is that over the years, different patents would be created in order to change this style. The style or the way that this fitting connects to a coupler. And so we have, and I'll show you an example here. So here is an industrial interchange, ISO 06, and then here's a Euro high flow. So you can see the different standards. So this one and this one don't fit in the same hole, if that makes sense. So, and you also notice the difference in flow capability. This is a Euro high flow. This is a standard industrial fitting. This is the most common in the US. So if you go to Home Depot, unless you're on the West Coast, chances are you're gonna have this type of fitting. So I do stock the industrial standards just because I know many people don't want to completely convert their system. But if I have the choice, if I'm starting fresh, we want to go with the green stuff, the Euro high flow, because of, why not? I mean, look how much bigger that hole is. Bigger hole, more flow. If you're starting from scratch, then why the heck not? Even if you're not starting from scratch, it's not hard. These are like $1.25 or $1.75. You can replace them on all of your tools. Even if you had 100 tools, it'd cost you $200 to swap it all out. So let's talk about couplers. So I stock these. So there are lots and lots of different options, but I stock these. So we have Euro high flow. That's, you can always tell because it's green. And then the inlet is either 3/8 or quarter. So I have 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch female. These are going to be the most common ones that we're going to provide, or most people are going to buy these sizes because they're the ones that would fit on the end of your hose. So you're generally going to put the coupler on the end of the hose. These swivel. It's kind of hard to swivel by hand, but this nut actually swivels. So these are swiveling couplers. We'll talk about how these work and why these are better here in a minute. Then I stock male. These will be really common, like if you bought a little pancake compressor and you wanted to swap out the couplers on them, you're going to use these really commonly on those type of fittings, where you have 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch and 3/8. So I think I said 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 3/8. They have 1/2 inch. I don't stock those, but we can get them. And so if you have most compressors are going to have a 3/8 outlet. So on the coupler side, on little pancake compressor. So like on my little Ingersoll Rand little handheld compressor, I swapped out my couplers and put 2 new 3/8 fittings in place. That's where you'll commonly use those. Then I have the same setup in the industrial type ISO 06, 06102 standard. So notice the size of the couplers. The industrial couplers are a little smaller, so they are, they don't require as big of a body because the plug is more narrow. So that is an advantage to the industrial, but you wouldn't notice the difference unless you had them here in your hands. And then we have wall manifolds. I stock the dual wall manifolds. They sell single wall manifolds. So this is where we would terminate our pipe on the wall. So let's say you could even do it here. Let's say I wanted to have an outlet on the back of my cabinet array here. I just need to get the pipe in using various 90s or 45s to get into these. We stock the 3/4 version of the wall manifold, so we can go right in and terminate it and put a valve specifically on our wall manifold. I like to turn these valves off. It's just I think it's a cleaner way to set it up. I'll show you some of the ones we have here at HQ, how they're set up. So the manifolds come with their own couplers, and these are the 1/2-inch versions. So if you ever break one of these or need to replace it, just make sure you know that these have 1/2-inch outlets, the manifolds do. They also have a drain, so you can pull or untwist and pull to release water. If there was ever any water buildup, we can go test mine. You could also fit a tube inside of there if you needed a drain for some reason. So this could be a spot where you drain, the end of your lines as well if you needed to. Really, really high quality for the cost. These I generally mount with, you'd either put a block on the wall, but they're perfectly designed to work with, which is something I failed to mention earlier. They're perfectly designed to work with the wall plates that mount the piping. So these are called the CI25s. So when you mount these, this is perfectly designed for the pipe to go directly in to the wall manifold. So you don't need to use any bent pipes or anything like that. So that's why you want to mount these directly to the wall or directly to something without putting a block of wood, because you could see that will adjust your output. That's where a bent pipe would come in if you needed one. So then we have, this is the most amazing thing on the planet. These are the Prevost swiveling couplers. Now these are about $100. I think this one's like 115. They only sell these in one size, so 1/4-inch NPT on the Euro high flow, 3/8-inch NPT on the industrial type ISO 06 standard. And so these, the way they work, I'll show you here behind us. I have one set up. So the way that these work is you have complete fluid swiveling capability. So you can swivel in all directions. This is under pressure right now as we speak, and you have complete fluid capability. So if you were polishing, you would pull your hose down. If you're doing any kind of polishing, you could have complete adjustability of your polisher. It's just a really amazing. I put these swiveling couplers on everything. One little hack that my friend Nick taught me about that I need to do is, these things tend to get twisted. This thing up here is take a little electrical tape and wrap it around the body, and that will keep it from moving and having to be, this top piece tends to slide on you. You could also put like a dab. You could probably peel this back, put a dab of super glue to hold it in place. I like the idea of electrical tape. But here's the magic of all of these couplers that's very different than any type of coupler on the market. It's a double release. So normally, in order to disconnect something, I'd have to push down and then release it, on most normal snap ring type couplers. But with these, once I have the device on there, I can simply push and I have a secondary release. So I'll show that again. You can even do it upside down. I don't think it falls on the ground. And then I drop my tool. So the magic of these type of couplers is that I don't have to deal with things, potentially shooting across the way. Complete swiveling capability. These all swivel in this fashion as well. So the body swivels. This one is a fluid swivel, and it swivels 90 degrees, or I guess 360 degrees as well. So you have complete movement of the body of the tool or the coupler. Really amazing. Highest quality products on the planet. So then we offer the plugs that you'll need. So male and female 1/4-inch plugs in Euro high flow. Male and female 1/4-inch plugs in industrial standard. And then I have male and female, which you'll almost never need, but male and female plugs in 3/8. So it's 3/8. So the high flow section is the same size, but it's just the NPT threads. Male and female 3/8. I don't stock male and female 3/8 in the industrial standard. You probably really won't need these, so that size anyway, but I do have them in case you need them. If we did need to special order them, we certainly can. So those are our couplers. Let's talk about hoses. Okay, deep breath. We're still rolling through here. We're getting toward the end. So imagine, multiply all this times 100. and you have just infinite choice, which is again fantastic. But you gotta, to make a decision and to make a choice has taken me a long time, a lot of obsessing, and then trying to figure out how to offer it to you is not easy. So now I have to talk about hoses. So they have 3 different main types of regular hoses, and they have like 35 other types of other hoses. And so I've chosen to stock 2 types. Okay, so the 3rd type, which we don't stock, which we can get, is called a SureFlex. This one is a smooth jacketed, not very pliable. It's kind of, think of it like, it's kind of like some sort of poly type hose. It looks good because it's blue. The problem with it is it's not particularly pliable. The advantage of it is a little lighter weight hose. So we can get this if you need to, but I don't stock this at all. So what we do stock is raw, what's called StoFlex. Now this is very expensive. It's about three and change a foot, I think, or around $3 a foot. This is a, this is a nitrile rubber, which isn't susceptible to issues with petroleum-based products. Tranny fluid, brake fluid, oil. So if you drag this across your floor, it's not going to bubble up like the SureFlex or the Erica hose would. This is a pretty typical Goodyear style standard EPDM rubber hose. This is a great hose, but if you get oil on it, it's going to bubble up and explode. So the nitrile rubber, this is a paint booth grade, completely unnecessary for most home garages, but we want it because we can. It's a little bit lighter weight than the regular Erica hose, but still a pretty hefty 3/8 inch style hose. I sell this in raw hose. You can buy it by the foot, and I also sell it, both the Erica and the StoFlex hoses, in a special OG spec configuration where I have 3/8 male on one end and 1/4 inch male on the other. And the reason for that is the couplers, the swiveling couplers are 1/4 inch, and I don't want to have to do any kind of reducing or anything like that. So I have these specially made where they have dual ends, 1/4 inch, 3/8. That's how I stock these. I want to say this hose is $135 and this one's somewhere in the $70 range. So a really expensive 50 foot. We stock this in 50 and 35 feet. I stock this in 50. Again, I can get whatever you need. We just got to wait for it. We're going to have it made and have it sent to us. These are actually made here at Prevost in the US. They source these from, I think, Goodyear or something like that. So these particular hoses are Prevost branded. They say Prevost on it, but I believe they are able to make these for me here in the US. So let's talk a little bit about how you would terminate the end of your line, because this is something I had a really hard time trying to figure out. How would I connect a hose reel with hose to to my airlines? How would you do that? I had to sit there and obsess over that for quite a while. Okay, so up above us, I have hose reels. Up above us, I have pipe. And what I have to do with the pipe is I somehow have to put a hole in the pipe in order to connect my hose reel. And how the heck do you do that? There's a number of ways you can do it. You can do a piping flange where you drill the hole and do it that way. I found the most efficient way to do it is to tee it, either tee it or terminate it. So let's say you're going to put a hose reel at the very end of your run, so the end of the pipe, or the end of that specific run. I'd have my pipe, so my pipe comes out. I take my female pipe fitting and convert it to male 1/2 inch, and then I take and I put a valve. It's always good to put a valve next to where you're going to have a hose reel. So I put a valve on there. I then convert it to 3/8. And that's one option, convert it to 3/8, put a barb fitting on it. If I want to skip that, because these valves only come in 1/2 inch, I could buy a 1/2 inch barb fitting. So I take my barb fitting, and then I'm going to terminate with my hose. And I'm going to run a little whip hose. I'm going to put another barb fitting on the inlet to my hose reel. So my hose reel has an inlet, take a barb fitting, and I terminate my hose to that. And I've got a barb fitting here where I terminate my hose. So because we don't sell these hoses in custom links that are threaded, we're putting barb fittings on the end, and then you cut your hose to whatever length you need. I promise, really easy to do. It will make a lot of sense if you did it at home. So let's do one. Let's get it set up here. So I have my valve. I take my valve. In this case, I'm going to come and I terminated it with my pipe fitting. Like so. Then I have a 1/2 inch to 3/8 inch barb fitting. So then what I do is I take my ear clamp, now these aren't necessary, but I take my ear clamp protector, and I'm not going to do this just for the sake of it. We'll get you some close-ups of what this looks like. We're going to pull it back and put this on first. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take an ear clamp, and I sell the appropriate size. Take my ear clamp, put it on. I slide this in place. I take my ear clamp. I sell these as well, ear clamp tool, and I crimp this on. So I crimp this side, that side. I pull my ear clamp protector over and cover it up. And I have a termination. And I would do that on any place that I wanted to have a flex line to my air hose reel. So if you'll notice over here, behind all this crap, all this other stuff I'm testing, here's an example of how I've terminated it. So ear clamp, I put this is my lift. So we have it, so behind here there's a barb fitting and an ear clamp, and we have a nice terminated connection. So I have a 3/8 inch barb fitting to 3/8 inch type, and then I use that for my lift. Pretty clean and simple. We have the same thing overhead. You're gonna have a hard time seeing that because we don't have a zoom, a very heavy zoom lens, but you'll notice the termination of my hose reels up top there. So the other way to do it is I take a tee. So if I wanted to add a hose reel, like mine are all teed off, I take a male-to-male NPT 1/2 inch fitting, like so. Take my valve, twist it in place, and then I can do my termination like so on my hose. Really clean, really simple, and that's how I set up all of these type of connections for hose reels. So that's how we would do it. So we sell the bulk hose. You can buy whatever length you need. We cut it to whatever length you want. You buy it by the foot, and that's how we terminate it. You'll need a set. I mean, these Prevost aren't anything special. They're not super expensive, so if you just want to buy it all in one place, I do stock these in quantity as well. You only need one of those. So the last hoses that I do stock, which are pretty popular and really nice, are the whatever you call it, curly Q. What do you call these things? Yeah, coil hose. So I stock them in 3 different colors. So in the 20-foot size, I stock green, which is really nice, blue, and black. They have 1/4 inch fittings. One side swivels, one side is fixed. So you can put a coupler on here, you can put a plug on here, whatever you need to put, depending on your device. So this is usually designed to be used in some sort of like a countertop application, or if you were using this to fill tires or something like that. So I stock them in green, black, and blue in a 20-foot. I stock them in blue in a 26-foot and a 13-foot. And then if you need something special, we can special order. But those are the sizes that I generally have in stock. And these hoses are really nice. They have dozens and dozens of other hoses. I bought every one of them. I've had every one of them. These are the ones that I like. These are the ones that I use, the ones that I have in my garage that we use so regularly. The green Stowflex, the one I use. Airca I have just if you don't want to, it's about 50% of the cost. And then we have the various coil hoses that you can use for whatever you need to use. Last thing to deal with hoses is really nice. This would be to hold your hose, like so. but it's called the PLA HR. I stock these as well. I'm gonna say they're not super expensive. They're nice. The quality is pretty stout. Yeah, I mean, it's a nice, neat, clean way to store a hose. I have one over here behind my 1M tires. You can see it sort of. I have it mounted over there on the wall. So the next product, this would be I guess the last product in the chain of airflow, would be either your tools that you have at home, which of course you would use your usually quarter-inch male fittings are usually what most tools are going to need. But we also have blowguns, and Prevost has like 40 different blowguns, and so I wanted to figure out which ones. So I've had 30 of them, and I wanted to figure out which ones would I actually use. So I wanted to make the ones that I use available to you. And so if you've adopted the Euro high flow standard, we do the green ones. So if you're doing all Euro high flow couplers, we have plastic tip, metal tip, and these are the ones that are lower profile. You can see here how these connect. So it just fits really nice and ergonomically on your hand, like so. The other, so the option to do, these are called their S1 couplers. This is the OSHA compliant, meaning if you put your hand here, it won't blow your hand off. The air goes outside. So this is an OSHA compliant plastic tip. I probably use the plastic tip the most. These are a little bit more comfortable in your hand. This type is just a longer handled. So I like having these as well. And what you do is you take and you fit a quarter-inch fitting on it. You can see ergonomically the metal tip, plastic tip. These are good to have. So in a perfect world, I would have these 5, either in high flow or in industrial, just depending on what standard you adopted. So you have the long 13-inch in case you need it for something like reaching in an engine bay or something like that. Metal for when metal is appropriate, plastic when plastic is appropriate. So you have the full handled 3, and then you have the other. These are surprisingly inexpensive. They're like $12, $13, $14, so not crazy expensive. And then the very last Prevost product, which doesn't have anything to do with air, which I stock. I haven't really been using these personally, but some people, there's an application for them, are garden hose fittings. So these would be garden hose type quick disconnects. So one thing you could do is you can use this to split. So you can have a splitter and you can put more fittings on. So if you wanted to split this to 2 different hoses for some reason, it's a very simple way to split. But the nice thing about these couplers over the regular ones, they're much bulkier than the ones I sell from MTM. But this one here has a ring inside of it that when I disconnect, so let's say I disconnected my hose, I don't have to turn the water off. So an application where you needed this seals off. So when you disconnect your tool or your hose, then the water seals. And so you don't have to turn off the water. So these would be appropriate for something like a CR Spotless where you didn't want to turn the water off, but you wanted to disconnect and reconnect the hose. These aren't stainless, although they look stainless. They're zinc plated. And then we're still waiting on them to source. I have the female versions. We really need the male versions of the plugs. They were having a hard time sourcing NPT, but they have male and female version. And then we also have these connectors if you needed to, put 2 together for some reason. They have these, which are pretty relatively high flowing. Yeah, so that's the product line. I want to show you a couple more things. We're going to walk around the garage here. While we're doing that, I'll wrap up this video. I know this is a lot to take in. The key is all this stuff is on obsessedgarage.com, and we're available to help you think through it. And so Kyle, my dad, myself are all pretty versed in this stuff. Bryce, we're all pretty versed in the products and how they fit together, so we can help you think through this. I want to be the source for this stuff. It really is great products. So let me show you a couple of last things in the system, and we'll wrap this up. So let's walk through my system. So we already talked about this. 1/2-inch flex line comes out of the tank, goes into our filter regulator. We come out of our filter regulator, so this is a 1/2 inch inlet and outlet. We can orient our filter regulator whichever way we need to direct air. And so I have a 1/2 inch connection to pipe. So we convert to 1/2 inch pipe, or 1 inch pipe, sorry. And then you'll notice here on the wall are our plastic fittings. And so these plastic fittings, if you look through the center of it, notice you can put a drywall screw there. There's also a metal threaded portion for using all thread. So if you look up on my ceiling, we mounted to the ceiling via all thread. They make all different types of clips. With us, we just double nutted it. So we drilled a hole in the purlin up there and just double nutted it with washers so that we were able to level it and get the right size for our all thread. And we cut our all thread all the same length. So these are mounted here with drywall anchors and drywall screws, or how these are mounted. And so you'll notice when this opens up, we can stick and drill, we can put our screw gun through here, screwdriver through there. As you just take a drywall screw or a drywall anchor screw and just run it through, and these mount to the wall. So they're dual purpose. And so notice we have various 90s. Now I have a loop. So the loop runs all the way around in a rectangle of this. This is roughly 2,000 square foot facility. So in this case, we take our 90 up. So our 90 comes up, and then we tee off. So you can see where we'd use a tee. So we tee off, and we have a single run down to the end of the, whatever you call this, the storage area, that we never use, but we have it. So there's a double wall manifold down on the end. And we also take our loop, and our loop runs, this is where our loop starts, our loop runs over, and I have installed another double wall manifold that we don't use. Notice the valve is off, you just turn the valve off. But this is where we'd use a pigtailed hose or a coiled hose on our workbench if we needed to. I had big dreams of us doing all kinds of stuff with air tools, but we don't really use any of them. So that's how you would terminate there. I also use drywall anchors to mount our double wall manifold. They're a little too wide to mount to a stud, but the thing is really sturdy. And so we run over here to my work area. And notice I have 4 hose reels on all 4 corners of the cars. We talked about how to come off of a T. We come off of a T to a valve using the 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch connections, the 1/2 inch barb fitting, and then I actually have Sureflex hose that I was testing there as my whip. So we created the whip using the ear clamp protectors, ear clamps, and barb fittings. And we have that in 4 different locations there. All the valves could be turned on or off. If we had a leak or some issue, I want to be able to go up there and replace the hose reel without having to shut the whole system down if needed. And then I have a T coming down here, and you saw the double wall manifold. So our double wall manifold here is mounted. Again, this is just mounted to drywall with drywall anchors. Very sturdy. Same thing here. These are all drywall anchored. Super sturdy, stout setup. I have a loose hose that I'll use occasionally. I have a couple of runs off of this line into whether I'm either going to do my automatic tire inflator or my twin bush lift. So that's my system and how it's set up. So if you made it this far in the video, you're like hyper amped like I am about the Prevost stuff. It's complicated, very robust, amazing quality. It's taken me a long time to get to the point to even make this video, to have proper stock. I've had to get France caught up to the US and the demand that we have for this stuff. So I have all this stuff in stock. I suspect that there will always be some supply of certain individual products that are coming over from Europe. But in general, I have this stuff ready to go, and I can design pretty elaborate systems for you. So if you need some help with it, shoot us an email, or hopefully this video helps you because I know I like to formulate my own systems. I'd say get out a sheet of paper, draw it out, and work with the products that I have here instead of trying to work from the catalog or the website that's much more complicated. Work from my website with the, we have it down to 2 pages of products that you might need to help you make your decision on what your system will look like. Anyway, thanks for watching this one. This is a crazy one. I can't explain to you how many hours I have into this. It's at least 1,000. You know, it's a solid half year's worth of work of me just sitting there poring over the catalog, helping design other people's systems, digging into this for my own system. I can't tell you how much stuff I bought that I didn't use. So a lot of the stuff that isn't part of this array that I bought extras of that I had to buy in order to figure it out because they didn't have the pictures that you're able to see in the video that you're watching. I didn't have any of this stuff to work with, so hopefully this is helpful to you. Anyway, thanks for watching. More product stuff coming. As always, stay tuned for more crazy. This was a big one. Thanks for watching.